I am so excited about this last panel. As you know, my love is really big for the WNBA. I've been covering the league for about 8 years in different capacities. So really excited about this next panel called Legacy Leaders. WNBA greats, moderated by Jane Appel Marianelli, SVP of Player Relations at the WNBPA. We have an incredible group here, Rusha, Coquise, and my dear friend, Cheryl Swoops. We are so excited to have you. Welcome.
They might have needed to bring some bigger couches for us. Well, I don't know about Coquise, but we are so excited to be the last and the greatest panel of the day. Ending on the big energy, leading you guys on to an amazing cocktail networking hour. I could not be more honored to be up here with so many of the first in so many different elements of our game. That is where it is today. As you notice, we are all former W players, all in sneakers. That's how our feet work now. But this is truly a panel of legends and players and people who have and will continue to impact the game. Incredible women, all trailblazers, leaders worldwide, and their work and impact is something that has and will forever be in so many people's lives. We heard Tina talk earlier about these are some of the players that she watched in '97. They're the players that I watched in '97 and drove me to the goal of wanting to play in the W. Speaking of future players and impact, I want to start with you, Coach Coquise. They call you that?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Fine.
Great. You're currently the head coach at Rutgers, just across the way, and helping to shape future W players. We were talking in the back about how so many of her players their goal is to play in the W. And how amazing is that they have that to work for their entire career now. But before you were in that role, and maybe your most important role, she was the first WNBPA union president. And there hasn't been that many of them. There's been 3.
Yes.
Including our current one, Nneka Ogwumike. But I would love for you, as a person who's a tireless advocate, always for growth and equity in our game and in your players and women's basketball, if you could talk a little bit about what it took to become the first PA president. I would love to hear how that experience came to be, as well as your first negotiations. You know, we heard Terry talk a little bit about what's going on right now, but take us back a little bit.
Yeah, it's exciting first to see where the current league is in terms of negotiating the collective bargaining agreement. The first collective bargaining agreement that we negotiated really grew out of an understanding from the players that we wanted the WNBA to survive, and we wanted it to be a professional league. We didn't want it to be a side hustle or a side gig. For understanding, the first year of the WNBA, the minimum salary was $5,000. The second year, it was $15,000. And that's when the players unionized. And a lot of the impetus came from some of our agents were saying, listen, you guys need to get together and really, work on the salaries. And certainly salaries was a part of it. But we really focused on trying to make the WNBA a professional career. And that meant we needed some of the staples that you find in every other profession. We did not have year-round health insurance. We did not have maternity leave. We did not have retirement contributions. We did not have guaranteed contracts. So some of the things that we were fighting for in that first collective bargaining agreement was really about laying a groundwork so that this league could be your profession. This is your career. This is not your side gig. This is not something you do in the off season. I am a professional women's basketball player. And so we really worked together with the league to make sure that we could set a foundation where if you played in the WNBA, that was your job, that was your career. You could literally take care of your family with this job. And so that was kind of really the essence of what we were fighting for. We were fighting for professionalism.
Absolutely. And I need to correct myself. There were 4 presidents before and now on NECA. How do you think, you talked about laying the groundwork and having maternity leave. That was something that we didn't have when I was playing even, and we fought for as part of our CBA. And at that time, Tamika Catchings was our president, and we were talking about how you want to leave the game better than when you came into it. And you want to set up the next generation of players to take it to the next level. And that's something that our players and members are fighting for now, is setting it up for the next generation. How do you have that impact and that influence on your current players now in making them recognize, in this world of wild NIL deals and making it about more than themselves and more about the collective and how they can have an impact on the future?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we talk about is your why. What is your why? And for us as players, I remember us talking about Cheryl, like, Cheryl's pregnant, like, she shouldn't have to rush back so she can make sure she gets paid, right? And Cheryl was one of the faces of the league. So we talk with our current players in this changing time, like college sports is undergoing a massive change in how it operates. But, as players, what kind of foundation are you laying right now for future players, for the people that are coming behind you that they can build off of? And I think one of the things that I look at that I love about the current players, and as they're negotiating over time, one of the things you look at is our current players have a voice. And that first collective bargaining agreement was really when you saw a group of women professionally stand up. I mean, we were negotiating against the NBA because the NBA owned the WNBA. So we're sitting in the room across from David Stern and Adam Silver and Val Ackerman, negotiating, and we stood up and said, we are going to have a voice in what our game looks like. And across the decades, you've seen the players in the league continue to do that, whether it's about social justice issues, whether it's about the collective bargaining agreement, whether it's about the individual ownership. And I think that's another thing that we kind of fought for and wanted to lay the groundwork for was, as players, have a voice and demand that your voice is heard.
We can end on that one. Absolutely. So I'm going to pivot a little bit from our first union president to the first player ever drafted in the W. Yep, absolutely. I could list all of her accolades, but we would be here all night. I would like you specifically to talk about the courage it took to come play in the W. And even though the opportunity was there, and talk about your first year, Kokwis touched on it a little bit, but if you could expand on that and that challenge and how you persevered through that.
Oh, geez, that's a lot, Jane. First of all, for those who are in the room who may not know, so I wasn't drafted. I was assigned, right? Tina Thompson was actually the first player drafted. At the time, the idea was to try to build, fans and build the league. They would assign 2 players to each team that was from that area. So me being from Texas, Houston was the only team in Texas the only city that had a team. So I got appointed to Houston. Look at God, won't he do it, y'all? And 4 championships later, but anyway. It's so crazy when Kokwis talked about us not having maternity leave. And even though I was pregnant at the time, I don't even know if my focus was on like maternity leave. It was more about, yeah, I know I'm pregnant, but let's figure out how to maneuver all of this. Because the big picture was, as Kokwis said, was building the league. Right? What I love about it, though, to Kokwis's point, is now you see so many W players who are becoming moms, and now they have maternity leave. And I always say that somebody had to be first, in whatever that is, so that players that come up behind you, they know what to ask for, they know what to fight for, they know what to expect. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Being the first player that signed and the league focusing on marketing you and getting people to come out, and then to have to go to the league and say, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant, gonna really pretty much miss the entire season. Not knowing how they were going to respond, because no one had ever really done that. And I was absolutely terrified at what was going to be said, what was going to happen, what was the league going to think. And it wasn't just the league. I had just signed a deal with Nike, so I didn't know what they were going to do. There were so many thoughts I had in my head about what is this going to look like, how am I going to come back from it, what type of support am I going to have. And it was important to me to be able to come back and be a part of the inaugural season. So 6 weeks after giving birth, I came back.
Woo! Shout out to that.
I don't know how or why, but
look
I
what
did.
And now you've inspired players like Cheyenne, who just had a baby on July 1st and is
Right?
already killing it on the court.
And she looks good. And the last thing I want to just add to that is now to see where the league is today and all the amazing, incredible things that these young women are doing. A lot of it is because of having president like Coquise, who understood not the now but the future, right? Like, it's all about building the future, and all of us as players coming together, not being selfish and saying we're going to have a voice, we're going to have one voice, we're going to stick up for each other, but more than that, we want this to be a league that's going to be around forever. And so to be sitting here today having this conversation, thinking about where we started and where we are today and absolutely where we're headed, I think every single one of us would say everything we went through was worth it and we wouldn't change it. Last thing, y'all, I am a grandma now. So I was a mom and now I'm a grandma.
I love that. What would your advice be to the current members now to set it up how you set it up for us?
It can't be about you. And I think that's what was so important, right? Like, we obviously had players that were making a little bit, not much more than 5 or 15,000, but for us, it wasn't about me. And I think the players understand that, but I also think it's important that you have that leadership. NECA, I think, is doing a phenomenal job with making sure everyone understands what's at stake. And the last thing I would say is keep fighting for what you deserve and what you've earned. And don't let anybody tell you that you don't deserve it, because just like the men put the work in, we work 10 times as hard, and we absolutely deserve to be compensated for it.
Absolutely. Kind of pivoting off of that and not being about you, Rusha, you have had an impact in leadership on the game, playing for 10 years, but in my opinion, one of your biggest contributions to the game and to the players was forming the Women's Professional Basketball Alumni. At that point, there was nowhere for us to go. It was the only organization to assist women who have played professionally in the WNBA or internationally as they transition into mainstream society. Rusha now currently sits on the board of directors for the National Basketball Retired Players Association, so we do have a home now, another home, as well as founding ServCom, a nonprofit organization that strives to improve communities by providing educational enrichment and activities for citizens, such as leadership and development through sports. If you could kind of talk about that transition from playing to what is next. We heard about a little bit on the last panel of kind of having to find your new identity, taking advantage of opportunities you have while you're playing to network. But what led you to essentially establish the first home for retired players?
You know, my entrance, I played in the beginning also, but I wasn't drafted. I wasn't invited to camp. I actually went to a tryout.
Once a W player, you're in the W.
No,
It doesn't matter how we got there.
absolutely. I made it, but my mindset when I was there is I never know when I'm going to get cut. So I was the person that went to all the events. I sat and spoke to all the people, just thinking, what am I going to do after this ends? And luckily, I stayed around for a while because I played, 17 total seasons, played overseas as well. But when I got a chance to transition and stop playing, your life is so structured when you're playing. You know what time to get up. You know what time you have to eat. You know what time you have practice. You know what time you have meeting. Everything was lined out. So then when I had to do it myself, I'd be like, calling all my friends, what you doing today? Let's go to lunch. They would literally be like, girl, we got jobs. We cannot go to lunch with you. So I got to that point where I didn't know what to do with myself, so I called my sisterhood, and we were sitting around like, what are we doing? And so we wanted to figure out a way. So I had some conversations and even talked to some other NBA guys about, like, what does transition look like the healthy way? How do we figure out how to lean on ourselves? Because there was nothing in place to help us figure out what was next. So we did our first event, Beyond the Bounce in Miami, NBA and WNBA players. And when we got in the room, everybody told their story. It was the same story. I talked about how I didn't know how to structure my life. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to walk into a room because everybody saw Rusha, the basketball player. And I had so many different attributes that are leaning into me being excellent in other spaces. But you want to talk about when Cheryl scored 40 when they beat Cleveland. I don't want to talk about Cheryl. But being received as something more than a basketball player. And even for yourself, saying, basketball is what I did. It's not who I am. Yeah. So just hearing the relationships and the conversations with my sisterhood, I was like, there's got to be something in place. So I went to the NBRPA, and it actually started because we were in Dallas, and we were playing in a celebrity game, and one of our sisterhood was homeless. So I was like, what? I'm the person like, how do we fix it? What do we do? So I came back and I called the W, and they was like, well, we really focus on the current players, and we don't have, and I was like, that's unacceptable. So I went to the NBRPA, and they were like, well, we don't let the women in. I was like, what? But Charles Smith was the executive director, and he was like, Rusha, the board has said no, but I'll help you put something together. And that's how the WPBA was founded. Thanks, Cheryl. And it's been great because, thank you. And I bugged, and we eventually, probably about 8-10 years ago, got a chance to be a part of the NBRPA, and Cheryl was on the board, and now I currently sit on the board of directors for the very organization that told us no initially.
A seat at the table.
You gotta have it.
You gotta fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
How important have those relationships that you have made throughout your playing career when you claim to be, I hate when people say, Rusha, just a basketball player. You were so much more than that. But how important were those networking and mentorship opportunities that you were given access to because you were a player to then the next step of forming, the Retired Players Association and to what you do now?
I think it really gave me an opportunity to lean into those relationships because I'm not afraid to ask for help. Like, I know that at any point, if I need something, I can call Coquise and say, hey, so what are your thoughts, especially with her background beyond coaching, what are your thoughts on? And just leveraging relationships is really important. I'll call Cheryl and be like, hey, so these people want to do this. What's it going to cost? How much money can I help you get? Because I want to assist my sisterhood, not just about what I can do, but how I can bring opportunities to each of us so that we can grow beyond our game. So I just really think me being in that space in Cleveland, not knowing if I would be there the next year, I was always building new relationships, always learning about the organization, always figuring out what the different jobs were within the organization so I could help myself and help all the ladies around me.
And as a coach of young people aspiring to be in the league and moving forward, we try to give them that knowledge and that information now about leveraging relationships, about using the platform you have as a Division I college athlete. How can you build some relationships, especially in this era of NIL and revenue sharing, and get to know the people who are supporting you as a college student athlete. So you start to build those relationships that you can lean on when you stop playing, either as a college athlete or as a professional athlete.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit to what Rusha was saying. Again, for those who don't know, we as retired players, we don't have a pension. We don't have health care. And so when you see, listen, transitioning from being an athlete to the real world is hard. Like, even if you know, like Coquise, I think, knew she was going to go into coaching. Yes? Yeah. Okay. You can say no, but, right? Like, but even if you know that, it still changes. Like Rusha was saying, when you're playing, you have a schedule. The team's going to put you on a schedule, but as an individual, you're like, I know me, this is what I have to do. When that's over, so many thoughts enter your mind, like, what's next? And so when I think about our sister who was homeless, I'm going to say this and I get emotional. That should never happen. You give so much of yourself, your blood, your sweat, your tears, to an organization for, I don't care if it's a year, right? 5 years, 6 years. You give so much of your time to an organization. And then when you're done playing, it becomes, thank you for your service.
If that.
Good luck, if that, right? And so when I think about where we are right now and what we need, and I'm talking about as a whole, the current players, former players, I would love to see the W have some type of a program that honestly helps prepare. I don't care how much money they're making. We still need something for these players to help prepare them for when the ball stops bouncing, because that's the reality, is it's gonna stop. And I'm gonna put this out there, she doesn't know this, so Cleveland's getting a team back. Rusha Brown should be a part of the Cleveland Rockers staff in some capacity. Last thing, because you didn't ask me for this, but y'all gave me a mic, so
I
I'm
told
gonna
you it was
talk.
going to be the best conversation of the
Y'all
day.
gave me a mic, so I'm gonna talk. Well, so here's why I say that. Because I also think a really good way to do that, to help current players, to help former players, is to find a way to keep them involved with the W. Whether that's in the league office, with a team, we're getting more teams. I don't care how many years of coaching experience you have, there's nothing like playing experience to be able to relate and connect with the players.
Absolutely.
Cheryl?
It sounds like she's sending your resume over to them. Or just calling them.
And Rusha's probably like, girl, I don't want to coach, I don't want to do that. But I put it out there.
When you all were talking about the schedule, I was instantly thinking back to my first day at the PA office and sitting at my, because literally you were handed, here's your schedule, here's mealtime, film time, practice, be on the bus. And I remember sitting in the office right behind you all and being like, is someone going to tell me to go to lunch? Or do I sit here? Because my job had always been basketball. And when other people were doing internships, I was on the court. I literally sat there until about 2 o'clock and I was like, I'm going to faint if I don't go eat. I needed my itinerary for the day. Quick learner, though. Quick. I would love for each of you to talk, if you can narrow down to 2 things that have helped you to have a lasting impact as a leader.
I'll start off. I think everything that I've done, especially since I retired, was trying to be what I needed when I was younger or in a certain position. So I started an AAU program where I want to help these young ladies develop and learn different ways to do things from a person that's actually played the game. I needed that. My mom knew nothing about basketball. She was like, go ahead. And I went, and then I just did what I was told. But then later on, there were some questions I had, and I didn't get any answers. So wanting to put myself in a position to be what I needed. And now on the nonprofit side, helping the young ladies, and even speaking in corporate leadership development programs, just being a sounding board. You can do that. I love being in a position where I can help people reach whatever their next goal is. So seeing that I could have an impact by giving of myself, especially what I needed when I was younger.
I think for me, one thing was being around great people and not and trying to learn from them. So, for example, I played with Cheryl. One thing I learned that I couldn't do was practice at 11. Cheryl could show up at 10:50, drinking a Coke, eating a Snickers, and kill everybody in the gym, right? I was like, I can't do that. I got to get here at 8 o'clock and shoot a lot of shots. But learning from the other greats, being in the gym with Cheryl and Tamika Catchings and Cynthia Cooper and Rebecca Lobo and Tina Thompson, and watching what greatness looks like, because Cheryl said it's not easy. And when the lights aren't on, greatness works. They work so hard. They work so smart. They work very efficiently. And learning how to learn from other great players, sitting across the table from David Stern and learning how to negotiate, learning how to ask the right questions, learning how to build the right relationships. I think in our profession, and really in every profession, there's always genius around you. And can you recognize that genius? And are you willing to learn from that genius and apply it to your situation? I think the other thing that I was able to do was not be afraid to try things that were hard, try things that were different. I'd never been I'd never been a president of a players association before. But when the player said, Coquise, will you be the president and go negotiate? I went, sure, I'll do that. But not being afraid to take chances. And even when they maybe don't work out, there's a lesson you can learn from that. But having that that willingness to just go out there, and some of that you learn, playing for a championship in front of 20,000 people, on NBC. Like, if you dribble the ball off your foot, guess what? You still got to finish playing. The world doesn't end. So those are some of the lessons that I learned in the W that have carried me throughout the rest of my professional career.
That was good. Did you say playing in front of 20,000 people? Something like that. So we did have people come watch us play? Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure you said that. Okay. So for me, the two things I would say is just being confident. Like, even when you're unsure, or maybe if you don't really know the answer or have the answer or have the plan, you still have to be confident in who you are, because those around you are looking at you, they're looking to you, and if you don't show that confidence, how are they going to feel? What are they going to think being around you? And the second one I have learned, and honestly, it's probably been in the latter part of my life, is stop trying to please everybody. I think so many times we worry so much about what everybody is going to think about what we say, how we feel, how we look, whatever you want it to be, that just mentally it can be so draining if you focus on trying to please every single person. And I think as players, we probably all did that at some point, trying to please your teammates, trying to please the coaches, trying to please the fans. And as, I don't know, maybe it's just me, menopause and all the things, y'all. Like, I just really don't care. Are you clapping because you're menopausing too? I'm just playing, y'all. Y'all are too serious right now. No, but seriously, as I have gotten older and hopefully wiser, I really focus on being the best version of myself that I can possibly be. And if something I do or say offends you, it's not my intention to do that. It's just me being authentically myself, and that's all I can be.
I hope everyone's taking notes because we're getting gems. Core values, confidence, staying true to yourself. When the lights are off, greatness works. Like, that might be the title of this panel next year. Honestly, so good. You know, and this kind of leads into this next question of, has there been a quick practice or mindset shift that has helped you throughout your career to stay resilient and grounded when setbacks or crises have tested your vision and values?
Jane, you got to repeat that.
This is where the scouting report comes in handy. Is there a quick practice or mindset shift that helped you throughout your career to stay resilient and grounded when setbacks or crises tested your vision or values?
NDRE has a great song, "This Too Shall Pass." And that's kind of the mindset shift, you know, as players and as coaches. Like, sometimes every game is, you know, you lose a game, it's the world stops. And I try to go like, this too shall pass. So at midnight, it's a new day. You gotta have a new approach. You gotta be ready for the next things that are coming. So I like to listen to that song, "This Too Shall Pass," and keep it moving.
Yeah, that is a good song, Coach. Mine is kind of on the same path as Coquise. I was just going to say, like, keep going, right? And I'm speaking for myself personally. Just when you think that this door is about to open for you, right, and you're right there to walk through that door, and then that door closes, you have two options. You can stop or you can keep going, right? Because I am a firm believer that when one door closes, for me, about 5 or 6 more are going to open, not just one. But if I stop at that one door, I'm never going to find out what's behind any of these other doors. And what's for you is for you. You just have to have the mentality of, like, life is tough, things are going to be tough. I've been through a lot in my life, so this one door closing isn't going to make me quit. It's not going to make me stop, because at some point, that one door is going to open, and I'm going to be ready to walk through it.
That's good. And I'm listening to both of you, and I'm like, dang it, I was going to say that. But so now I'll think of, no, but just really thinking about finding that thing that you love, what you're passionate about. And that led to me even creating. So now I'm going to be so corny and share my little acronym I share with my kids. It's called the Passion Principles. That thing that you love that's going to wake you up in the morning will help you disregard anything negative that people are going to say. Because I don't care what you say, because it's my gift, my choice. So your P is perseverance, your A is attitude, your S is sacrifice, your second S is setting goals, your I is inner strength, and your O is optimism, and your N is never giving up. So those traits, no matter what's going on, I apply those on the court, off the court, in a classroom, in my spiritual walk, because the thing that I love comes from those traits and nothing else. Like Cheryl says, we don't care what y'all say because we're menopausal. So it's just really a space where you pour into yourself and you understand what guides you.
Aren't you guys glad you stayed?
It's really.
Listen, y'all are laughing way too hard at these menopausal jokes. I know it's some of y'all that can relate. Thank you for being honest. It's real though, right? Y'all got us up here in these hot lights.
Fans for next year. We got you. I think I'll end with this one as we're in our last couple of minutes. But throughout, and this wasn't on the scouting report, so this is just me making it up now, but all of your responses throughout this panel have, for me, related back to kind of your core values that you've discovered either through time or through a specific event. Can you tie it to a specific event that happened? Like, I was assigned a team, I was pregnant, I had to figure out a way to pivot and face that fear of going into the office and telling them that, you know, at the NBA, that I wasn't going to be available to play. So whether there was a specific event or a series of events or something that transpired that led you to discovering those core values that maybe someone in this room can be on the lookout for. Maybe they're just completely missing it in establishing those. This is like the overtime question.
I know Cheryl's still telling me what to do. Right? Still. Oh, act like you did. No. Cheryl, she always told me what to do. Always. But I always listened because she was really good. So, and honestly, that ties into for me one of the biggest things was actually playing in the WNBA and being the first president of the Players Association, because I wasn't a superstar. I wasn't a starter. I wasn't this big name, and to have the trust of the players to say, Coquise, we trust you with our career. We trust you with the direction that the league is going to go in. That gave me a tremendous amount of confidence that allowed me to go do other things first. And like Cheryl said, there's always somebody that's going to do something first. So to be the first president of the Players Association and to sit on these conference calls and talk and, okay, what is it that you guys want? And then be trusted to go in these rooms and speak and lead on behalf of some of the most well-known and powerful women in the world and legends of our game. That was a tremendous responsibility, and it gave me a lot of confidence that I carried with me for the rest of my life. So for me, I always treasure playing in the WNBA beyond winning championships and competing on game day because of the relationships that I built and the trust that the players gave me to lead them in a way that was really, really meaningful and impactful for the league. So that's something for me that I'll always carry with me.
Go ahead, please. Leadership.
I was
No,
like, Coquise,
Cheryl for
why do you
last.
keep going on the side where Coop is? Come on my side.
That was a couple times.
I think for me, I didn't start playing basketball till I was a sophomore in high school, and it was as a result of my father passing away when I was a freshman. And in my brokenness, child, I was getting into everything, all kinds of trouble. So my family found basketball for me to do something to be constructive, and I fell in love. So I found that the harder I worked, the better I could get, which in turn meant I could have better opportunities. And I wanted to go to college for free. So I learned through my dad's love. My dad was a huge Laker fan, and I would watch the games, but I never had any interest in playing. But once I picked up a ball after he left, that was my means of connecting with him. But then I fell in love with the fact that I could write my own story, because I came from a community where the anticipation or the expectation for young girls were have a baby, not go to college, like there was nothing productive. So basketball that became my passion, and so I fell in love with it. So I wanted to control my own narrative, and it helped me go from picking up a ball as a sophomore to being the #2 recruit in the state of South Carolina by the time I got to high school, and getting ready to go to college. But I just ingrained in my head is like, I tell my own story. You can't tell me what to do, because I'm willing to do that work. So I fell in love with the process.
Well, that's good. I think for me it was, I think it's pretty simple, but sometimes it's really hard. Being a good person, right? So I try to be a good teammate. And now in my retirement life, I try to be a good person. And so many times when you're playing and you're trying to be a good teammate, people will think because, Coquise was joking. Yes, I was. But people will think because you're passionate about something, right? I'm passionate about competing and winning and playing hard and giving it your all. So I may go to Coquise with a different tone, right? Of, like, let's go, right? That doesn't mean I don't like her, or it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It means I'm passionate and I see something in you that we need from you to help us be great, to help us win. So I always try to be a good teammate, even to the players who weren't going to play a lot, maybe never got off the bench. But I always felt like it was important that they knew that I saw them. I respected them. I believed in them. And you always have to stay ready, right? Because you never know when that opportunity is going to come. And so now that I don't play, I try really hard, I don't care who it is, to just be a good person. Like, that's a very important thing to me, because you never know what someone's going through. Like, it doesn't change my day to stop for 5 minutes to have a conversation with someone who might just say, oh my gosh, I watched you play. I'm a big fan. Can I take a picture? And so many times people will be like, girl, I ain't got time. But for me, that 5 minutes could absolutely change that person's day, could change their life. So one thing I just try to carry every single day, regardless of what my day is like, that's being a good person to everybody that I happen to meet on that day.
We need more people like that in our world.
I ain't said half.
I just want to say thank you for all of the information and allowing me to be your moderator today. It was amazing, an opportunity. I used to watch them play and then join them playing, and just what an incredible way to end out the day. And just, I'm going to end actually with your quote that when the lights go off, greatness works.
That's good.
All right, thank you all for being a part of this day with us, and thank you to all of your contributions to women's sports. We appreciate you, and thank you to all the legends who are here today. Yeah. If you're going to stick around, there is a happy hour sponsored by Sidley Austin LLP, and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for attending Sportico's 2025 Rise Women's Sports. We'd like to thank our partners, the WNBPA, Galway Plus, Genius Sports, Scoreplay, Next League, Populous, Sidley Austin LLP, and the NBPA. Thank you for attending, and we'll see you next year.